You hear that music? That means it's Friday night here on Tobacco Road Sports Radio. Ryan Stone here with you. I am one of the franchise players. I don't know where my co-host JP Mundy is. I guess he fell off the boat and nobody went back to get him when he was out on his cruise last week. No, I kid. We'll do this show again together again eventually. But I have our producer Desmond Johnson joining us on the show, filling in for JP today. We'll talk some NBA and the Hornets in the second segment. Or excuse me, that's actually the latter part of this segment. Second segment, we'll talk some NFL and college football, and then segment three, we'll get into the Stone Cold locks for the wild card weekend in the final segment. But we've gotten into that time. It's past the new year. It's early January. ACC basketball play has begun. And it's kind of it's a strange start to the season for the ACC because none of the Carolina teams seem to be that good. Wake has been a nice surprise, I think. Terquavion Smith is tearing it up for NC State, which is keeping them somewhat competitive. But Duke and UNC been pretty underwhelming to start ACC play so far. So I'll ask you, as the resident UNC fan here at Tobacco Road Sports Radio, how much trouble is UNC in, or are they in trouble?
I don't know if they're in trouble. I didn't think they were the number one team in the country preseason. I thought they would be deeper, and they're a little deeper than they were from the run last year. I mean, it'd be hard to not be. They were only running like 5.5 kids at the end, pretty much. But I don't know. The losses have been weird because 2 of the 6, I believe, Armando got hurt in like early and didn't play or did not play. So I think 3 of these losses, Armando either got hurt in the game or did not play that game. This Carolina team doesn't have a whole lot of size. Once you take Armando and Pete Nance out the equation, who's out with a back injury, he missed his second straight game against Virginia. You take them out, they don't really have anybody. That's why Justin McCoy was getting booed in Virginia because he was their plan. But there's nobody out there that could play, except for Jalen Washington was a pleasant surprise, but he could only sustain it for a half. Having said that, Carolina probably should have won that game against Virginia, and I feel like probably most of these games they've lost, except for at Indiana. They basically got beat beginning to end. Down. Yeah, like that was a clear. They just caught them on a bad day. But the rest of them, like they lost to Arkansas. Wasn't that the 4 overtime game that they had? And even then, the last second they had a chance to win.
That was Alabama, I believe.
Alabama. Yeah. And Alabama, all these teams that beat them earlier in the year apparently are better than people thought in the preseason, because Alabama is a top 5 team right now, aren't they? No, Arkansas.
Yeah, they're number 4, and they won convincingly Wednesday night at Arkansas. So I mean, they beat a top 15. They blasted Kentucky last weekend. I mean, Alabama's pretty good. I don't know that anybody is far and away. I don't think there's a true number 1. We just kind of had this cycle of teams rotating at the top. I think UConn sustained it for a little bit. Houston sustained it for a little bit, but it's kind of just been a rotation back and forth of the top teams. So, and that's kind of why I don't think UNC is necessarily in trouble, because
I mean, they're not even halfway through the ACC slate yet. They're only 6 games into an 18-game schedule.
And I think, I mean, well, one, the top of the ACC right now isn't very strong. I don't think anybody necessarily believes Clemson is a undefeated caliber ACC team. I think Miami is legit. Legitimately good.
Miami. Yeah, Miami, Wong and them boys, they're pretty good. They'll probably stay around the top for the most of the season, I would think, because again, there's not really anybody to challenge them. Looking at the standings,
I think Virginia is legit. Their defense makes them legit, I feel like.
Kihei Clark has been here since Ralph Sampson, it feels like. Man just graduate.
They just have one of those guys like every year, and they just kind of replicate them in. It feels like they've been there forever.
I mean, I can't talk. Leaky Black's been at Carolina for like 6 years, so I mean, it's the same thing.
They're the Stetson Bennett's of the ACC. I think Colton Wong has been around that for that long as well. But that's kind of, I mean, the top of the ACC isn't that strong to me, so I still feel like UNC can make a run. I think maybe their biggest problem right now is Caleb Love, in all honesty, because I just go back to that And JP and I have talked about this after it happened. I just go back to the end of that Alabama game, and I know that was in November, but they tried to go to him 3 or 4 times in a row, and it was the same thing every time. Him trying to hit the same shot he hit against Duke, basically. And I
Yep.
just, he's too inconsistent to be that guy. He can get hot and do it like he did in the NCAA tournament, but he's not that guy night in and night out, and he thinks he is.
He's so streaky. I hate it, but someone that I know here in the local sports media mentioned this to me on Twitter, and I can't get it out of my head, and I hate it. He said basically Caleb Love is UNC's version of Austin Rivers. And
I've said that actually.
I was like, damn, because it's true.
I actually said the same thing on this show, JP, and I literally said the same thing.
It's so true. I had to agree with him.
Yeah.
I'm like, yeah, because he's one of them dudes where if he gets hot and you're the other team, you hate him. But if he's not hot, you kind of want him to keep shooting a little bit because he takes the team out of the rhythm. RJ Davis should be getting more shots. He has grown from freshman year to where he is now, where I would consider him one of the top point guards in the country. And I wouldn't have said that freshman year. I didn't see that at all from him. Caleb kind of goes through stretches where he doesn't know if he's the point guard or the shooting guard. He might disappear for a little bit. He might jack 6 threes and miss all 6 of them, then get hot like right after it. He has to have the biggest green light in the history of UNC basketball because I don't remember anybody being able to shoot like this and stay in the game.
We didn't get to see J.R. Smith in UNC blue, but that might have been the case.
He might have. Yeah. Well, I don't know. That would have still been Dean, right? I don't know if Dean or Bill.
No, that would have been Roy. That would have been Roy.
Yeah, it would have been Roy. So yeah, Roy might have gave him a little something. I'm a little curious about. I've only seen Wake against Carolina. I've seen Duke probably 4 or 5 times.
Yeah.
Give me your honest take on this Duke team because I know they're right now as we're doing this. They're 13-4. They're 4-2. They got past Pitt on the road the other night.
I thought that was a really good win.
Yeah,
the way they came back and won.
I'm not, man. I watched them play, and I'm like, maybe we've gotten spoiled off of the last 5 or 6 years of Duke, where it's like a bunch of one and dones, like Zion and all these high flying dudes coming in here. This team there's no sizzle.
There's really not. I think it's hard to evaluate them because we haven't really seen Whitehead on a consistent basis, and that's kind of the biggest what if right now is Whitehead and his health and getting into playing shape, and it's going to be hard to know until we see them with that. I think they have a good amount of depth, but he has to kind of be the star and the guy that kind of carries them to the next level. If they don't get him fully healthy and he doesn't emerge the way everybody has kind of expected him to be, the star, then they could have a hard time, I think, getting beyond where they are right now.
They feel like a first weekend, like round of 32 type of team because I don't see like
they could all
switch, but I don't know if Duke has a switch.
They could always feel like that because they don't have the sizzle and they're very young. I mean, I think this team has performed okay. I don't think they're the disappointment that a lot of people have tried to make them out to be necessarily. I mean, they don't, like you said, they don't have the superstars coming out of high school like they've had in the past. But obviously, the Boston, if they had lost to Boston College, then we're maybe having a different conversation. But which was close, obviously. But they didn't have Jeremy Roach, who's their leader. That's why I was kind of impressed with them actually beating Pitt the other night, was because they still didn't have Jeremy Roach.
That's a good Pitt team.
Pitt is very improved. I think they're an interesting team at the top of the ACC as well.
Besides the ACC Big Four, we haven't talked about Wake Forest and State yet. Wake, I would keep an eye on Wake. They haven't lost a home game in like 14 games or something going back to last year. They're 9-0 this year at home, 12-5 overall, 4-2 in the conference, got a couple of quad 1 wins. I think Wake could actually just kind of float around where they are. And I wouldn't be surprised if Wake won the whole like regular season when this was all said and done, just because of how Forbes has built that team. They're an older team. And like you said, Duke, it's like 10 freshmen and a couple of grad students, it feels like, with Duke. And then I don't know, Carolina just like so up and down. Like you don't know what team you're going to get. Usually, the first 5 minutes of the game, like which Carolina team came that day. But Uh, I mean, injuries have backed them up. So I don't know the situation with Pete Nance. We'll have to see if he'll play against Louisville. Although I would think they wouldn't need him against Louisville. Louisville, I don't know if Louisville's going to win an ACC game this year.
Who have they been bad? I
What
I,
happened?
well, I mean, the recruiting violations, obviously. I mean, the sanctions. I think that that just kind of put a black cloud over them, and nobody, I guess, really wanted to come there.
I feel bad
But
for L. Ellis. I actually
yeah,
one of my favorite play-by-play calls I've ever done involved L. Ellis. It was Piedmont Classical against shoot, I can't remember, but it was on Netcast Sports, and me and Coach Willamy were doing the game, and they were down 4, and with seconds running out in the game, dude hits a 3 as time expires and gets fouled. Goes to the foul line, hits the free throw. They go to overtime. His team wins the game. And I've always remembered him because of that.
Yeah.
And then to see him pop up at Louisville, because he was at someplace else before that. He went, where was he?
I think he went JUCO.
Somewhere. I thought I saw him on another D1 team. And
I thought he was a JUCO guy before he got to Louisville.
What's your thoughts on State? Because they're kind of in the middle of all this, 3-3, 13-4 overall.
They kind of, I mean, I think they go as Terquavian Smith goes, who's a North Carolina kid, won multiple state championships at Farmville Central. He's an NBA guy. The question is whether he gets himself into the 20s as a draft pick or if he goes early second round. But he really, he was a guy that tested the waters last year. And I think what they told him was at his size, he needed to improve his playmaking ability. And now he's averaging 5 assists a game. So I think he's a guy to watch in the ACC. He's the kind of player that can carry you to an ACC tournament where you upset people and nobody necessarily sees that run coming.
Sticky guys, yeah.
Yeah, he's that kind of guy. So I mean, I think they could be like. It just feels like they kind of feel like. Not like last year. They're better than last year, I think. But it's kind of how those Keats teams have felt over the last few years, where it's kind of teetering, where it could go one way or the other.
I would agree with that. I would think that if Keats can't make some kind of progress this year, I would think we'd have to be on some kind of hot seat at this point. He's been there for how long has Keats been there? 4 years, 5 years now? At least through a class. So
it's I mean
before COVID.
Takeo Siddle, who is now the head coach at UNC Wilmington, was an assistant under Keats at Wilmington, and then he went to state with him, and then came back and is now the head coach at UNC Wilmington. So it's 4 or 5 years at least, yeah.
Shout out to the Seahawks because I was doing the A&T Elon game Wednesday night, and Charleston, who's ranked, took on UNC Wilmington, and I saw on Twitter a video. They were at was it Trask Center or whatever it's called?
Something like that.
They had a line of students going out the door, like blocks down the street, like 2.5 hours before game time, and then somebody had some video of inside, and it looked like an ACC arena. Like the kids were right on the court.
I mean, if you go to the right, mid-major program school like arena, it gets like that. I mean, when I was at VCU, it was that way. I mean, that's what I was at I was there Anthony Grant's last year and then Shaka's first couple of years.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So yeah, I mean, I love that. So I saw that and I was like, man, shout out to them, the CAA, North Carolina A&T. You guys know Tobacco Road's the home of A&T football and basketball, and they're moving up to the CAA. So well, they're already playing CAA basketball. The football will move up next year.
They were pretty competitive with UNC Wilmington last Saturday. So
yeah,
showing some fight.
They'll be me and actually programming note. Me and Chris Lee will actually be calling the A&T Stony Brook game for radio Saturday at 2:00 on Tobacco Road. You'll have the Flow Sports video call, right?
That is correct.
Okay, so we'll all be in the house calling it. I have no idea what Stony Brook's about.
They are 2-1 in CAA play so far, but I think it's a game that I think A&T, if they're going to be competitive, it's a game they need to get at home.
Real quick before we get to the break, let's hop over to the Hornets real quick. They're actually playing the Raptors here in like 10 minutes, and some weird thing because they just played them Tuesday at Toronto,
Well,
and they just stayed.
Yeah, they've done a lot of that with the scheduling. They've kind of gone the not quite the baseball route, but they have had a lot of back-to-backs kind of early in the season.
So I'm looking at the standings as they stand right now. The Hornets are second to last overall in the standings.
They're not tanking well enough.
Yeah, it's like they're not even doing that right. Like I'm trying to figure out what the game plan is here. Because honestly, I don't think they're tanking. I think they're really trying to win. They're just not good.
Well, I think, yeah, and I think they missed. LaMelo missed the first 15 games or whatever it was. So I mean, they haven't.
Yeah.
I mean, and they've got guys like Terry Rozier is never gonna not show up to play. That guy is a pit bull mentality type of guy. He is never going to show up not to play. So he is not going to be a part of a taking team.
I'll be surprised if he's still part of this Hornets roster after, I think February 5th is the deadline, the trade deadline. Him, Kelly Oubre, I know, been getting some looks.
Well, Oubre's done for the year though. That's the problem.
Oh, is it for the year? Oh,
man. I thought it was. Maybe I'm incorrect.
Maybe it's surgery.
Yeah, he had surgery on a tendon that they say he injured it like the first week of the season. He just didn't get it checked for like the longest time. So
so he's probably made it goes how worse. Who do you think is a prime target besides Rozier? Who do you think is a prime target for teams to go after on this Hornets roster the February deadline?
I think Rozier is an obvious target. I think Gordon Hayward could be interesting for somebody coming off the bench. Give some veteran experience. You know what? As much as we bagged on him in the past, Mason Plumlee's had a pretty solid season.
I feel
11 points and 9.5 rebounds. I mean, that's decent backup size for a contending team.
Yeah, but I feel like he's taking minutes away from like some of these younger.
Again, that's a reason to move him if you're the Hornets. Yeah. So I mean, I think it makes sense to move him.
I'd move PJ Washington. I'd get him up out of here.
I think that's coming too because he's got the Anthony Davis thing a little bit where he doesn't want to rebound.
Yes, it drives me nuts. I can't stand it. It's like, dude, you're 6'10". Like you're out there to do this and you refuse to do it. Like the ball is bouncing around you and you won't grab it. Kai Jones is only 20, I think.
Mark Williams is starting to get more minutes.
I like Mark Williams. I never thought I would say that. And when they had the draft, I remember me, you, and JP were talking about this right after the draft, where we were saying they basically kept the wrong center. Who's the guy they picked right before?
Jalen Duren. Jalen Duren has been pretty good.
Yeah, if they had kept him and then maybe traded off Mark Williams, maybe it'd be a little different. It really just comes down to they didn't do anything in the offseason.
I think the Miles Bridges thing hampered them drastically because it was like, what can you do when you're in that situation?
The only thing they did in the offseason besides offer Miles, they extended Cody Martin and they brought in Dennis Smith Jr. But other than that, this is basically the same roster they had last year, and all of the entire Eastern Conference got better. I think there's two teams out west that if I were the Hornets, it's who I would call, and they're both teams that have some young talent that you can maybe swap some vets for. And they're two teams that have been big-time contenders in the past. One of them is a reigning champion. I would call the Golden State Warriors and offer Terry Rozier and maybe somebody else and try to get Jonathan Kuminga, Wiseman,
Moses Moody, James Wiseman. It's worth a phone call. I'm not saying they'll make the trade, but I think Terry Rozier could help. And Jordan Poole's kind of been struggling, so you could kind of maybe swap Jordan Poole for Terry Rozier. And that's not an awful.
Didn't they just extend Poole?
They did extend him, but the dynamics with that team have not been good with Poole since the fight. With Draymond.
Yeah, I don't care what they say. Like they're not going to be right. Like every game, you can't just sucker punch a person in the face at work. It's cool.
And I think the one other team I would call is Phoenix, who's been struggling drastically. And I think Terry Rozier can help them a lot.
Injuries have really hurt them. Yeah. So the Suns are in 7th place right now. The Warriors are in 8th. My Lakers in 12th. right around 500, which I'm actually shocked to see now that I'm looking at the standings. I've been seeing, I know he has a no trade clause or whatever, but I've been seeing these LeBron to Golden State things popping up.
I've seen that, and I also saw today where he supposedly wants to retire a Laker. So I have no idea what he actually wants.
He don't know. He don't know. I saw him saying he wants to play with Bronny, and I'm like, we don't even know if Bronny's going to be in the NBA. Like, I mean,
I think he's getting himself to where he's an NBA caliber candidate. He's improved a lot, I think, over the last couple of years.
Who's the best player in the NBA right now to you, like as we stand today?
To me, it's still Giannis. It's gotten to the point where it's just boring because he does it every night.
Yep.
And he's more like Nikola Jokic is great, has every right to be in the discussion for MVP with the numbers he puts up and how good the Nuggets have been, but he's not as dominant as Giannis is.
Giannis, somebody put up a colorized film reel of Wilt Chamberlain that I came across the other day on like Facebook or Twitter. I was like, damn, he looks like Giannis, or Giannis looks like he. Like, I mean, he's running the court, doing like guard stuff, like because people don't know like Wilt like that because they weren't there to see it. It's the same thing with LeBron and Michael Jordan, where if you're under a certain age, you're not going to say Jordan's the greatest because you didn't see him. Yeah. But then there's people like us that have been alive to see pretty much the duration of both careers. We can kind of make a better comparison. Giannis is a unicorn, like for real. Like he's some that 50-point game in the finals changed my mind on him completely.
He's kind of a more evolved Shaq. Like that's the comparison you hear a lot of people make a lot of times. Yeah, like Orlando Shaq. Yeah, when he was in shape.
Yeah. Like young, running the court. He's like that, except Giannis is more like muscular, like more defined.
Yeah.
He has a jump where Shaq just stayed down in the paint. But I do love during that Bucks run, there was a stretch where Giannis was just shooting threes and everyone's like, no. And then somewhere around the finals, he was just like putting his head down and driving like from the 3-point line in. And you just couldn't stop it. He'd get there in like 2 steps. And he's learned to just keep doing that. And he's there. I'd say maybe Ja Morant. And that's just because Steph hadn't played in a couple of months.
I still don't think Ja's a good enough shooter at the point guard position. Like
maybe that's exciting. Maybe that's the best way.
He is the most exciting and the most explosive, I think.
Between him and Zion, and I don't want to say it because I've said it this whole time that Zion has to do something because he's out with a hamstring right now. It's going to constantly happen. Like he's a left tackle playing in the NBA, 6'6", 285. Like right now, he's getting by on his youth. You remember when you were 23, 22?
I do think he's in better shape, but he has to continue to work at that.
He needs to be like Philadelphia 76ers Charles Barkley, like 86 Barkley size, like around, and Barkley was 6'4". Like he needs to be hard.
It's gonna be hard for him to get that because he's just got so much more muscle mass than Barkley.
Yeah, I mean he's at 285 now. It's 6'6".
I think it's gonna be hard for him to get below 250. Just looking at his build.
I was gonna say I think he's get 260. He might be okay, but at 285, no. Like he. How old is Zion? Zion's what, 21, 20, something like that.
Yeah, something like that. I mean, he's in his 3rd year, so I guess he'll turn 22.
I mean, like I said, you know how I was when you was 21, 22, 23. You could be out all night, pass out at 4 a.m, wake up at 6:30, and take a shower and go to work. You know, and like somehow get through it, and then go do it again the next night. So right now he's just getting by on age. Like his body just hasn't understood what he's doing. But down the road, if he's still like this at 27, 28, 29,
that's a lot. That's a lot of weight to carry.
Yeah, that's a lot of miles that he's running too on his legs, up and down every night. And I don't think people really understand that. They just think that, oh, it's Zion, he can do anything.
I do think like they haven't had Brandon Ingram most of the season either. I do think like if both of them are healthy, it will take some of the strain off of Zion in terms of carrying the load and everything.
Hey, Pelicans are 3rd in the West right now without Zion.
Man, they're CJ McCollum. I mean, that's
it's weird looking at the Western Conference standings. The Nuggets, the Grizzlies, the Pelicans, the Kings are in 4th. The Mavs are in 5th. The Clippers 6th. Suns, Warriors are 8th. It's just weird looking at it and trying to figure out who's going to come out of there. But we got plenty of time now that college football and everything is over with. We got to take a quick break. But let's see what we got coming up next here.
We got NFL time. We'll talk about how about should Aaron Rodgers retire and what's up with Lamar Jackson as well.
Yeah, we'll get into that here Just a bit. Franchise players, WWBG 1470 AM and TobaccoRoadSportsRadio.com. Hey, Panther fans. Right now on the SiriusXM app, hear the most in-depth Carolina Panthers coverage anywhere with Believe in Carolina Panthers, part of the Believe podcast network on SiriusXM. Hear from me, Desmond Johnson, and my co-host, Skylar Callahan from Sports Illustrated, and Panther great Jonathan Stewart as we break down the Panthers before and after every game through the NFL season. Your team, your podcast. Search BLEAV in Carolina Panthers on the SiriusXM app, Pandora, Stitcher, or wherever you get your podcasts. Do you believe?
Are you concerned that if you passed away today, that your family will be left in a financial bind? Are you concerned that your nest egg is quickly eroding in the stock market? Do you want life insurance but confused about how to get it and if you would qualify? That's where I come in. My name is Terry Edwards with Secure Financial Partners, and I've been helping families over the last 20 years ensure the things that matter most: your life, your health, and your wealth. Give me a call today, Terry Edwards, 336-416-8327. Again, that's 336-416-8327. 327. Your legacy is worth the call.
Pardon me, D-Dot here, and as the voice of the Greensboro Swarm, PA for the Hornets, and the sixth man of Carolina basketball, I do it all. Just like Beamer Tire and Auto. Alignments, new tires, NC State inspections, oil changes, they do it all. And with 3 locations in High Point, Greensboro, and Kernersville, B-Dot and B-Tar, yes, we do it all. If you need details, visit BeamerTire.com.
This is LaMelo Ball, and you're listening to Tobacco Road Sports Radio on WWBG 1470 AM, your home for Hornets basketball in the Triad.
Yeah.
Back into the franchise players on Tobacco Road Sports Radio. Ryan Stone here with you. Desmond Johnson in for JP Monday. Don't know where he is. Might have fallen off his boat. His wife might have left him there. Nobody would blame her.
I just realized we haven't even heard from him. Have you heard from him this week?
I didn't really talk to him this week, so I don't know what's going on. I'm starting to worry that his wife pushed him off the boat and left him.
Just thought about, I was like, dang, we at the end of the week, I ain't heard from JP once this week. He must be wherever he is.
He said the wrong thing to the wrong person finally, and somebody knocked him off the boat. Might have been his wife.
Yeah, that probably. That'd be one. Man.
Well, we're getting into the NFL offseason for some teams. Has already begun. And I'm just gonna say, if you're a team that needs a quarterback, like you feel like you're a quarterback away, this might not be a bad offseason for that. Because there's got to be a decision on Aaron Rodgers in Green Bay.
Mm-hmm.
Derek Carr seemingly said goodbye to the Raiders yesterday.
Yeah, there was no seemingly. Like he was like,
yeah,
this is it.
Lamar Jackson's status with the Ravens seems to be drastically in flux.
Yeah, we'll get in him in just a minute. Yeah.
Is Tom Brady gonna play again next year? Is he retiring? And then you've got out west with the Raiders. No, not the Raiders, the 49ers. They got 3 quarterbacks on the roster.
What happens when Brock Purdy leads the 49ers to the Super Bowl ring?
What happens? I mean, I think you get rid of Garoppolo at that point and Trey Lance because he's the cheapest of the 3.
Tom Brady 2.0 right there. And then Tom Brady comes in and takes his spot in San Francisco.
I mean, if they don't win the Super Bowl, that would be about the one way I could see that happening potentially. Miami's interesting too because Tua, and if they have a chance at getting they showed some interest in Tom Brady. Lamar Jackson's a Miami kid. I mean, there's a lot of Daniel Jones. The Giants want to keep Daniel Jones. Zach Wilson. Zach Wilson.
He did not.
He did not. He had a horrible year, but somebody may want to give him another chance.
Man, if he keeps talking, nobody is because
that's true.
He won't stop talking. He's got this entitlement thing going. It's like Johnny Manziel times 3. Like he's not listening to what he's saying.
Johnny Manziel light because he went to BYU.
Right.
But the first thing, should Aaron Rodgers retire? I think it's an interesting question.
should he and will he are two different things, because if I'm not mistaken, the man's gonna be owed $60 million when he shows up next year. On that insane extension that Green Bay gave him. So I'm pretty sure he's gonna come. But
well, it seemed like at the end of the year, I mean, minus the Detroit game, it seemed like they were starting to get on the same page with some of those younger receivers. And then you have Aaron Jones and A.J. Dillon. I keep seeing this Tennessee thing, but like, what receivers is he throwing to if he goes to Tennessee?
Why would he go to Tennessee? I don't understand.
That's people say the Vrabel thing. Vrabel and Tennessee needs a quarterback, basically. But there's no receivers in Tennessee.
It's like me saying, well, he can show up in Charlotte. He can be in Carolina. Like, well,
he would have one more receiver in Carolina than he would in Tennessee.
Pretty much. I mean, he's better to stay where he is. Like, there's no reason to go place for a year.
I mean, if you're going to go somewhere, if San Francisco's looking for a quarterback, maybe.
He's from Cali.
Miami, if they're looking for a quarterback.
But
Giants.
Any of these teams are going to have to pay him $60 million for 1 year, right?
That's true. You're going to have to pay it.
Is that worth it? Like what we just saw this past year?
What Aaron Rodgers are we getting? Are we getting a different locked-in version? Or are we getting the I'm going to go play in the rainforest for a month, Aaron Rodgers on not shrooms, whatever he was on.
Yeah, some kind of cactus, whatever it was. And that's why he was off with his receivers, because he wasn't there for the offseason. Like, he didn't show up for any of that stuff, So that's really him to blame for all that. And maybe he realized that. This Lamar Jackson thing, the more it drags out, it's making me feel like he's not going to be in Baltimore.
I think he's done.
Yeah,
I just can't. I think they have severed that relationship to the point that he just doesn't think they value him, and now he's just kind of making them pay.
They should have just gave him the money at the beginning of the year. I mean, he's already won a league MVP. He's 25. I don't. Deshaun Watson's worth 230 something.
I don't know why you would offer him less than Deshaun Watson. Like that's baffling to me.
Should have gave him 240. What I think he asked for 250.
I think he wanted 250 was what he got. I think his offer was less than Deshaun Watson's, I believe.
Yeah. See, that's if I was him, I completely understand, because this franchise has built everything around you. Like, without you, it don't really go.
No, it doesn't. And he never has done anything wrong.
Yeah.
There's no reason not to pay Lamar Jackson. He's never gotten any trouble off the field. He's relatively quiet off the field. He doesn't cause any issues in the locker room. There was literally no reason to not pay Lamar Jackson, and they seem to find a reason.
They did this before with Joe Flacco. Remember, they made him play through the year, and then he won a Super Bowl, and then they paid him, and he just
they paid him.
He went off the cliff right after that too.
So man. I do kind of wonder, what does this mean for John Harbaugh's future? I think I would too. We'll see what ends up happening with that, especially if Jim's considering coming back to the NFL.
Ooh, take a year off, go do some TV, something like Sean Payton did.
I think Lamar's done. Now it just gets to the point. Like I said, there's a number of like quarterback situations out there that are really interesting, and it's gonna be another, like, last season was an off season like we had never seen before. I mean, you had star players going everywhere. Tyreek Hill gets traded.
Oh yeah,
kind of start the whole thing. Tom Brady retires, unretires. You just have people moving all over the place. And I think this summer might be even more dramatic than what we saw last summer.
Oh man, and I'm hoping when it comes to Lamar, I've been getting into it on Twitter with the Panther fan base is divided as hell right now. They're all over the place. Like, some of them think this is like Madden. Some of them think more methodically. Some of them don't have any kind of in terms of how this actually works. And I was like, look, y'all are all talking about trading up to the number one and getting Bryce Young. Bryce Young is 5'10", 185 pounds, guys. Let's just. I know he was great at Alabama, but he was behind 5 dudes that weigh 300-something pounds and were 5-star offensive linemen. You plop him into Houston or Chicago or wherever, it's not going to be the same. Like, and I don't want Bryce. If I had to choose between any of these quarterbacks coming out, I guess I would pick CJ Stroud, I guess. But
I think I would take Bryce Young just because I like his leadership. But
he's so little.
I get it. but if game on the line, I trust him more than those other guys, and I trust him to lead. And I trust.
He reminds me of Kyler Murray a little bit.
Well, not off the field and in terms of leadership, but
no, just like his size, his stature, like his physicality. He reminds me of that. I don't know if I want that for a quarterback. I threw this out on the Believe in Panthers podcast earlier in the week. Instead of, first of all, it don't make sense for the shifting over to the Panthers. It doesn't make sense for the Panthers to trade all these picks they got for Christian McCaffrey to move up to 1 in the draft when they could have just not played players and lost games.
I would agree. I mean, I would have to agree with that.
They tried to win games. Why would they now turn around and give up their draft collateral to move up in the draft? Like, it doesn't make any sense.
I think, whoever, if it's the Bears they're trying to trade with, they're going to try to get Brian Burns too, more than likely. Because the Bears need some defensive help. I think the Bears, they don't just want picks. I think the Bears want guys that can actually help Justin Fields if they're going to trade out of that spot. If you're going to trade out, that's what you should do, is try to get somebody or people that can help Justin Fields right away.
Yeah, I could see the Bears taking Will Anderson from Alabama. That'd be
if they keep the pick, I think that's the guy they should take.
Mm-hmm.
But I honestly think the smart thing to do would be whatever team calls them and gives them the best offer, they need to ask for the best offensive lineman on that team to come with it.
See, well, you're already knocking Carolina out of this hole because I don't want to give up any of that. I don't want to give up any of the offensive linemen or Burns, or they don't need to. They don't need to do that. Like, let me ask you this.
Also, I mean, we've just discussed about 8 to 9 different quarterbacks they could pursue in the offseason.
Right. Yeah. And all of those better options than Baker Mayfield or Sam Darnold or Teddy Bridgewater, or any of these guys that they brought in the past couple of years under Matt Rule. Let me ask you this, though, because we were talking about this earlier in the week, too. Which would you rather have in the NFL? An elite defense or an elite quarterback?
How bad is the defense?
Like elite
quarterback,
like name brand, like 2000 Ravens, 85 Bears, 02 Tampa. Like you say the year and the team, you immediately remember what that defense was like. Like, would you rather have an elite, almost all-time type defense, or an elite quarterback like a Pat Mahomes or Josh Allen?
I think you have to go quarterback just because it wins more. Like you named 3 defenses. Like there aren't that many of them. I mean, you name Tom Brady, that's 7 Super Bowls right there.
Yeah.
I mean, you name
some of those he got off his defense though, especially the first
but I'm saying he still won some of them, and he still got them in field goal. He still got them in field goal position. A lot of them. But I mean, it's not just him. I mean, Joe Montana wins 4. I mean, Terry Bradshaw wins 4. I mean, that's just those guys right there.
But Terry was he was on a name brand elite defense. So I mean, or had one at least. I think I'd have the defense because you could find a game manager like a Trent Dilfer or whatever and a good run game.
I just think it's really hard to win that way in today's NFL. Like, it's hard to sustain it for an entire season in today's NFL.
That actually leads into the Panthers coaching search thing here because they are Scott Fitterer, man. I love Scott Fitterer, but on Monday he told us in the press conference this is going to be a short list, and every morning I've woke up since then, there's been like 3 extra people added to this list. Like, they literally have interviewed every single offensive coordinator under the age of 45 in the NFL,
which is fair.
And then today they put in a request for DeMarco Ryans. So,
which I think that was always going to come.
Yeah, they needed one more for the Rooney Rule anyway. And somebody else, Gerard Mayo. They're interviewing. So I see a lot of panic with Panther fans. I want Steve Wilks. I've been on record like going on 12 weeks now that Steve Wilks should be the guy. And when you have current and former players for the franchise being as vocal as they've been, like just verbally out loud expressing support for Wilks, that says a lot. Jonathan Stewart was saying earlier in the week that players don't really do that unless they feel adamant about something. They're not going to be vocal in the NFL about a thing. They don't want to stand out. But Stu, Thomas Davis, Jake Delhomme, Greg Olson, all these guys from the previous teams, Luke Kuechly, they've all expressed support for Wilks, Josh Norman, and then the guys on the team right now, Shaq Thompson and these guys. I think the fan base thinks that Tepper's going to ignore all that and hire an offensive coordinator, but I don't know. Actually, I think Wilks is still there in the clubhouse. But
I would say he's leader in the clubhouse. I mean, it's hard to especially the way they're built right now. Like it's hard to see them doing a complete 180 and going to being an offensive team right away.
Thank you. Because
It's hard to
draft on defense.
yeah.
Like,
It's hard to. I mean, it's hard to see that. So I think that's a fair point to it. I think he's the leader in the clubhouse because he won that. I mean, he won that team over. I mean, what he did was pretty admirable. And when he got the job, I didn't really think there was any chance that he would keep it. But he's performed to the point that you got to give him his credit. I think just the way the NFL is, there's a lot of pressure to hire an offensive coach, and I get why. Because you look at the NFL playoffs. I think 10 of the 14 or 11 of the 14 are offensive coaches. It's a lot. It's the majority. Bowles is one of the few. Harbaugh was a special teams guy.
Yeah, he's
it's the majority. I think McDermott is the other one. That's about it.
Yeah,
I think.
He was
but
with
he's
us.
pretty much. But McDermott has had great offensive coordinators.
Right.
Like Brian Daboll
is
So that's kind of almost offsets McDermott being a defensive coach because that team is better offensively than they are defensively by a long shot right now.
The Bills are averaging 28 points a game with Dorsey as the offensive coordinator. He was the quarterbacks coach here when we had Cam Newton. McDermott was the defensive coordinator here.
You also look at who their quarterback coach is, Joe Brady.
Right. It's like Panthers North, man. Buffalo is Panthers North. Like, have you ever seen I think it's SB Nation on YouTube. They do this series. It's called like Collapse or something like that. And they talk about like a team and what happened after they got to the peak of their franchise or whatever. So you see how like the team gets dismantled over a couple of years. So like they got one like on the 96 Bulls, and they have one on the 2015 Carolina Panthers. And you just see like they got all these pieces on the screen and they just got to methodically go one by one what happened to this and that. It's almost like the Buffalo Bills today are the continuation of if the Carolina Panthers in 2015 had figured out a way to just kind of keep going and just kept, filling in holes in the roster. Cam doesn't get hurt because Josh Allen is basically Cam Newton with a better arm or a more accurate arm. I mean, he's pretty much the same guy.
I think they got. I'm not gonna say Cam wasn't elite. I think because Cam was elite. I think at his peak. But I think Josh is a level above Cam. I think. I kind of wonder if I kind of need to go look and see if they've got one on the 02 Buccaneers because it should just be a picture of John Gruden the entire time burning in flames.
They probably do actually because it's a bunch of like championship teams or teams that got there and didn't make it, and then they just. Yeah. It's like a timeline thing. They go through different events like that happen that cause the destruction of the team. I don't know if I could say that Josh Allen is more of an elite player than Cam because Cam has a league MVP. Like Cam has a season that's
true. That's true. But Josh has to deal with Patrick Mahomes.
True. I mean, Cam had to deal with Drew Brees. I mean, it's
they all have their. I think Josh was probably well on track to start this season, and then Buffalo kind of almost peaked too early. It seemed like early in the season, and
it's funny. I think this DeMar Hamlin thing might push them to the Super Bowl.
We'll see.
Now that he's kind of okay, emotion-wise, we can ride this. I think. Although I'm gonna be honest, I didn't think I would ever say this. Watch out for the Cincinnati Bengals, man.
Joe Burrow is special.
He really is. Like he really is special, man. I watch him play. It's so effortless. And I'm just like, damn, I wish I had somebody like that running my offense. He's so cool. Like you never see him flustered. I've watched Tom Brady slam his hand on the ground, throw tablets, yell at people all in the past like 6 weeks. I've just seen him lose it. Joe never does that.
There's a Montana feel to Joe Burrow.
A little bit, yeah. He got a little bit of that to him.
I think he's got because you never really saw Montana like that either.
Mm-hmm. And he's always kind of in the right spot. He always gets the ball to the right spot.
Speaking of,
go ahead.
That's a good segue to the final segment, by the way.
Right. Ryan's wild card picks of the week. Let's go. We'll get those in here right after the break. Real quick before we go to the break, though, I saw somebody put up a ranking of like the past 20 college football national champions or whatever. And I think they had it wasn't this Georgia team that was number one. It might have been 2020 Alabama or something like that.
I think was it LSU.
LSU was like 9th.
Oh,
2019
LSU.
LSU. Yeah, I
That's too low.
was like, hold on. Now. We talking about the same LSU team that's got like dudes all over the NFL right now.
That's way too low. That LSU team is up there. I
gotta go find it. It was like 2020 Alabama, and then it was like somebody else at 2, and then at 3 was 2005 Texas, which I couldn't really argue because of who they beat. And then it was like 04 USC. Then it kind of went on from there. But yeah, I was gonna approach that subject to you, and the whole Georgia thing, because now all I'm hearing is that Georgia's gonna three-peat. Nobody's done it before, and they've surpassed Alabama. Do you think Georgia surpassed Alabama?
Yeah. At
Really?
At this point, they have. I mean, it's hard. I mean, back to back. I mean, and this year was supposed to be Saban's revenge tour.
They struggled this year a little bit
with Bryce Young and Will Anderson. They don't get to the college football playoff, and I don't want to hear though. Well, if they had been there, it would have been more competitive. Well, don't lose to LSU. Don't lose to LSU. Don't lose to an LSU team with a one-dimensional quarterback. I think there's going to be some teams like looking ahead to next year. I think Georgia's the clear number one. Ohio State's still going to be really good, even though they lose C.J. Stroud. Michigan's got pretty much everybody coming back. I think Florida State is a dark horse with all they've got coming back. Clemson just hired TCU's offensive coordinator, which is a home run because that's the first elite offensive coordinator they've had since Chad Morris left. So I think that's an interesting team. And at USC with Caleb Williams coming back, there's a lot of interesting teams. Yeah, and LSU's going to be really good.
Is it next year when the playoff goes to 12, or is it the year after?
I think it might be the year after that.
Anytime, and we got to take a quick break before we get to the last segment, but anytime someone says Georgia surpassed them, I'm just kind of like, yeah, but Nick Saban's been doing this for like 12 years. Like,
I think in this moment they have surpassed them in the last couple of years. That does not mean that Georgia's going to do what Nick Saban has done. Be clear.
We'll find out soon enough because during that national championship with Nick Saban on the panel, having to listen to David Pollock going on and on about Georgia, like beside him, like Nick Saban will come up and choke that dude. And Alabama practices are going to be a whole lot of fun this season. I don't think they're done yet. Saban looked like he was just like, yep. Yeah. And when we're going to score up on Georgia next year, I want all y'all to remember what y'all said about Georgia taking my spot. That's just how he's wired, man. He's just got that Saban Belichick thing going on. You got your games out? You got your games out for?
I know. Yeah. I got picks for every game actually this week. Every game.
So let's take one quick break, and then we'll come back, get Ryan's picks for Wildcard Weekend. You listen to Franchise Players. Filling in for JP Monday. He's on a boat somewhere. He'll be back next week. WWBG 1470 AM and TobaccoRoadSportsRadio.com.
Hey, y'all, Tiny's Mobile Auto. Is your car broke down? Are you stuck somewhere? Do you need a mechanic? You don't want to call a tow truck? Call Tiny's Mobile Auto. He'll come out to you, do your work, whatever you need done, your regular maintenance, or if you broke down on the side of the road, give him a call. All you have to do is pick up the phone and call 336-423-6241. You don't even have to see me. Just let me know what's wrong with your car, and I will come and fix it, y'all. I'm on Facebook, I'm on Instagram, TikTok, I'm on the Twitters, whatever you guys need, 336-423-6241. As always, I'll be seeing you.
To everyone who appreciates a little Midwest nice, let our team member Jacob share how he brightens your day at Culver's.
Going the extra mile to put a smile on your face? It's what we love to do. So when I serve you a chicken sandwich made with the juiciest whole white meat chicken, I know it'll light up your day. Our spicy crispy chicken sandwich, it's seasoned to bring just the right amount of heat to every bite.
Let us make you a meal that makes your day. From Wisconsin with love, welcome to Delicious.
Visit Culver's of Kernersville at 1780 Pecan Lane in Kernersville.
Are you concerned that if you passed away today, that your family would be left in a financial bind? Are you concerned that your nest egg is quickly eroding in the stock market? Do you want life insurance but confused about how to get it and if you would qualify? That's where I come in. My name is Terry Edwards with Secure Financial Partners, and I've been helping families over the last 20 years ensure the things that matter most: your life, your health, and your wealth. Give me a call today, Terry Edwards, 336-416-8327. Again, that's 336-416-8327. 327. Your legacy is worth the call.
Hey, Pops, where you want to go eat tonight?
I'm going to go get me some good Southern cooking at Ball Brothers down by the airport in Winston.
No, Pops, it's Bell Brothers, and they closed years ago. It's Taste of the Triad now.
Taste of the Triad? Is it in the old Ball Brothers building?
Yup.
Can I still get baked chicken and collard greens?
Sure can.
How about neck bones, meatloaf, and pork chops?
Taste of the Triad has all that.
So they ain't got pinto beans, tater salad, mac and cheese, or fried okra?
Pops, they have all that, plus homemade cakes and cobblers and sweet potato pie.
Well, then I don't care what they call it. Let's go eat.
Taste of the Triad. Open daily for lunch with $5.99 specials from 11 to 2 and chef specials daily. Don't miss the Saturday brunch from 9 to 1 and the soulful Sunday dinner when you come out of church full of the word, but hungry for Southern comfort food. Taste of the Triad in the old Bell Brothers building at Old Walkertown Road and North Liberty in Winston-Salem.
That's good Southern cooking.
This is PJ Washington, and you're listening to Tobacco Road Sports Radio on WWBG 1470 AM, your home of the Hornets basketball and the Triad.
It is Wildcard Weekend in the NFL. You're locked into the franchise players. Desmond Johnson filling in for JP Mundy, Ryan Stone in the house, and it's that time of the day or time of the show where Ryan gives his stone cold locks. Mr. Ryan Stone, are you ready?
I'm ready. Let's.
All right. How you want to do this? You want me just to call out the game and you give me what you're doing,
yeah,
or
we can do that. Call out the game.
Okay. So hold on. Let me pull up the my trusty little internet thing here and pull up wild card games this week.
Yeah.
Super wild card. Super wild card weekend. Super. All right. So Saturday tomorrow starts off 4:30 p.m. The 7th seed Seattle Seahawks at the 2nd seed San Francisco 49ers. It's 4:30 p.m. on Fox. What you got here?
So San Francisco minus 9.5. I think the 49ers. I just have a hard time seeing Seattle being that competitive in this game. I think this is a happy to be there situation. Pete Carroll has even said earlier in the week that the problem for them is they're playing San Francisco. And a bet that I actually like even more than the 9.5 in this game. I like Seattle to score under 16.5 points on their team total. The Seahawks in 2 meetings this season against the 49ers have scored 20 points total in those 2 games. So they're going up against the San Francisco defense. And I'll also tell you this. I've only made one future bet for the playoffs so far, and that's the 49ers to make it to the Super Bowl. I think that's to win the NFC. I think they have the best unit with their defense in the NFC, and Brock Purdy, we just haven't seen him make mistakes yet. So I trust them more than anyone else right now in the NFC. The AFC is a little bit too much of a toss-up for me to make a future bet there yet, so that's why that's the one that I've made so far.
That makes sense. And to be honest, San Francisco has been the hottest team in the NFC the past 2 months, really. The Eagles fall back to earth with Hurts being injured. I don't know what the hell's going on with the Cowboys. Like, they play down whenever they're playing. It's so weird because, the country wants the Cowboys in the Super Bowl. Whether you love them or hate them, it's just a sexier Super Bowl. The Cowboys versus the Chiefs or whatever. I kind of predicted a 49ers-Cowboys NFC championship game, but I don't know what they're doing. So I don't know if I want to put all that on Dallas. I want to make sure you get through all these before the hour's over. AFC, 8:15 p.m. Saturday night. The 5th seed Los Angeles Chargers taking on the 4th seed Jacksonville Jaguars. It's at Jacksonville.
I like the Chargers -1.5. I just think they have more big game experience at this point. I do like the way Jacksonville has played a lot this season. They made me a lot of money last week when they won the AFC South because I actually took that future bet before the season started and had their win total for the season over 6.5 wins. So they made me a lot of money last week. I appreciate the Jacksonville Jaguars, but I think this is where it ends for them.
I was about to say, I know you were sweating bullets the first 6 weeks of the year with the way Jacksonville was playing.
They did not start the way I was hoping for.
I like Trevor Lawrence. I do. I like Trevor Lawrence. I like Travis Etienne in the backfield. Los Angeles isn't getting talked about a whole lot.
That's what I like about them.
Yeah,
that's what I like about them.
They're keeping an eye on them. That's NBC and Peacock. So definitely keep an eye on that game, the AFC Saturday night game. Sunday, January 15th, AFC 1:00 p.m. 7th seed Miami at number 2 Buffalo. This is a CBS and Paramount Plus game.
Poor Miami. And I hate this because I like Mike McDaniel as a coach, but his season is going to finish with him basically being 900 because he doesn't have Tua and they fell to the 7th seed and somehow still managed to get in the playoffs. Buffalo's going to dog walk them. I took Buffalo -9.5 early in the week. I think they win this game by at least 17 points. So Buffalo wins easy, I think.
I wouldn't be surprised if, because I just saw DeMar Hamlin got released from the Buffalo hospital today. Yeah. So I wouldn't be surprised if he's in the tunnel or something. Maybe not running out, but there.
Might be in a suite somewhere.
Yeah. The boys ain't gonna play for him 1:00 in Buffalo. Yeah, in Miami, I don't know what's up with Tua. We'll find out career-wise with him because the dude's had 3 concussions in one season or something crazy.
The Dolphins are gonna be in an interesting spot this offseason.
Yeah, for sure. Got a couple minutes here. The NFC game, the late afternoon game Sunday, 4:30 p.m. 6th seed New York Giants taking on the 3rd seed Minnesota Vikings. That's on Fox and Fox Deportes.
This might be the best game of the weekend. Because it was a really good game the first two when they played on Christmas Eve. I backed the Giants in that game and they covered, so I'm going back to the well again. Giants +3 in this matchup.
Minnesota can't get no respect from anybody all year. Me too. I'm just I looked at them. I think I saw their defense has allowed more points than their offense this season or something crazy. And they're 12-5, 13-4.
They've had a couple blowout losses. Yeah,
I know Dallas put up 40 on them.
Dallas and Philadelphia beat them pretty bad, the second week of the season too.
And then finally the nightcap, Sunday, January 15th, 8:15 p.m. on NBC. The 6th seed Baltimore Ravens, who will more than likely be without Lamar Jackson, I would imagine. He hasn't practiced in a month. At 3rd seed Cincinnati Bengals. That's an NBC Sunday night football game and also on Peacock and Telemundo.
I Bengals -7. I just think even if Lamar plays, I feel like it's going to be very hard when he's missed as much time as he has. The guy hasn't played in over a month. To go out there and be that effective against a good Bengals team, and Joe Burrow hasn't even necessarily lit up the Ravens. But even with that said, in a game that mattered this past Sunday, they did enough, and they won by 14 points. I think was the difference. So I'll take the Bengals -7 in this spot.
And then finally here, got about a little over a minute to go. NFC 8:15 p.m. Monday Night Football. 5th seed Dallas taking on 4th seed Tampa Bay at Tampa. It's on ESPN, ABC, ESPN2 with the Manning cast, ESPN Plus, ESPN Deportes.
This is the dream matchup for the NFL right here. Cowboys and Tom Brady. It doesn't get any better for NFL
Prime
media.
Tom.
So teams who have been blown out the week before going into the playoffs do not fare well. One team in particular that comes to mind was the first year the Jets under Rex Ryan started to ascend a little bit. They blew out the Bengals the week before, even though the Bengals were considered the better team and didn't play everybody. They still came back and got blown out the next week. Dallas did not play well the last week of the season. Dak Prescott looked awful. So if you're giving me Tom Brady and the Buccaneers +3 in Tampa, he's never lost to Dallas. I'm on the Bucs +3.
It's that time of the year where you don't bet against Tom Brady, no matter whatever he looked like beforehand. It's just one of those things where it's what's going to happen. And that's what I was saying earlier. I'm not predicting Tampa Bay to get to the Super Bowl, but it won't surprise me if they show up. And I'm
the NFC is not that daunting. So it Would not shock me.
Gosh. Well, we're going to find out. Everybody stick around. If you're online at tobaccoroadsportsradio.com, I'll be right back here. East Forsyth versus West Forsyth High School basketball live. Girls tip off at 6 o'clock. Boys tip off at 7:30. We'll be back. Well, I'll be back in just a bit. You've been listening to the Franchise Players, WWBG 1470 AM and tobaccoroadsportsradio.com.